Okay, well, if you want to draw those conversations to a close, they will be ones that you will discuss a bit more in your small groups this week if you are a part of one. But it might be that you've been challenged this morning to think, actually, can people spot a difference in me because of my faith? It is a challenge, isn't it? Or do people wouldn't even know that I was a Christian unless I told them? But this term, across all our groups, across the adults and the children and youth, we've been looking at this theme of discipleship, about how there is always more of Jesus that we can discover, and always more that he wants to do in our lives, and always more of our lives that we can give over to him. And I want to share this morning 2 pictures to help us focus on that and to think about it a little bit more. And the first picture is this one of a house that is under construction. So we're going to do something with our imaginations right now. So I'd love it if you could close your eyes, and I want you to picture your house and where you live. So if you close your eyes and picture your house or your flat or wherever it is and where you live. What colour is the front door? Can you picture the layout of your lounge? Can you picture your bedroom? Did you make your bed before you came to church this morning? I know I didn't. And now I want to imagine that there's somebody knocking at the door. So if you go and open the door, and it's Jesus. So Jesus has come to your house and he wants to come in. And I want you to think about, what part of your house would you take Jesus to first of all? Maybe you take him to the tidiest room. Maybe you take him to see your toys. Maybe you take him to the kitchen to make him a cup of tea. But where might you stop Jesus from going? Would you stop him if he goes to look in the cupboard under the stairs? Would you stop him from going to the bathroom in case it hasn't been flushed by one of the little ones in your house? Maybe you'd stop him from going into your bedroom because of the piles of clothes on the floor. Well, if you open your eyes again, when we think of inviting Jesus into our physical homes, there are likely places that we'd be really happy for him to come into, and other places where we think, oh, Jesus doesn't really want to see that, or I don't really want Jesus to see that part of me and my life. And actually, the same is probably true of our lives. There are parts of our lives where we think, I'm really happy for God to see that part of me, or to move in that part of my life, but actually I don't really want to acknowledge with God, or for God to see the times where I get angry, or the things that I'm tempted with, or the places where I'm not very Jesus-like. Because even though we try and live like Jesus, we all know that actually, just like that picture showed, we are always under construction, aren't we? There are always things in our lives that need to be worked on. And there's a great book that I've been reading recently called Under Construction and Working with the Architect, and it invites you to go through your life a bit like a house and to have a reflect on, actually, where do I invite Jesus into, and which parts of my life do I avoid? So it talks about our kitchens, which represent our health, so our diet, our exercise, our work-life balance. Do I invite Jesus to work in those places? It talks about our bedrooms, inviting Jesus into those most private places where perhaps we have our secrets or the things we don't want others to see. It talks about inviting Jesus into our gardens, which represent the things that other people around us see, that we show to the world. And it invites us to think about our floorboards. What are the things that we build our life upon? And it goes through many other rooms. But it's a really helpful picture, I found, of what it means to invite Jesus into every part of our lives. And I wonder, if you think about it, what area of your life do you most need to let Jesus into today? And what bits need reconstructing or redesigning? And the second image is this. So it's one of a satellite orbiting around the Earth. So you've got the Earth in the middle, and you've got a satellite which is going all the way around the outside. And all of us, whether we believe in God or not, our lives will revolve around something. For some people, their lives revolve around themselves. For other people, their lives revolve around their families. For other people, their lives revolve around their favourite football team. Okay, everything that they do revolves around that. But for people that believe in Jesus, our lives should revolve around God, and he should always be at the centre. Now, I need a few volunteers, and I wonder whether the people up there might be able to help me. I need like 8 people, so it might be all of you. Just give me a helping hand. And you don't have to say anything. You're purely just going to hold something for me. So, Charlie, how do you fancy being God today? Would you like to be God today? Like to be God today? So if you hold that one for me. I'm not sure. Would I like to be God today? I don't know. Right, if you take one of those. Thank you. If you hold it in front of you. Wonderful. Excellent. And can you hold 2 for me? Is that all right? So if you just stand in a line up the front for me. Excellent. So our lives are made up of lots of different things. So we've got priorities like our relationships with family and friends, neighbours, colleagues. We've got priorities such as money, maybe success is a priority for some people. We've got our identity. We might prioritise that, how we see ourselves, how other people see us. But our lives are complicated, aren't they? There are lots of different things that go on. But sometimes our lives can be very separate. So we separate all these things out. So we have, I'm going to focus on God. Yes, I'm a Christian. But actually, I'm going to keep God separate from my hobbies. I'm going to keep God separate from my daily life when I go to work or school or at home. We almost compartmentalise God. So God kind of happens on a Sunday, or God happens when I have my quiet time. But the rest of the time, God doesn't really intermingle with those things. And it might be that God is number one in our lives, but actually he doesn't really feature in anything else that is going on. It's a little bit linear. But in another book that I've read recently, it talks about treating our relationship with God a bit like the Earth and the satellites that go around it. So, Charlie, can you come and stand inside this hoop? And the rest of you, can you have one hand on the hoop for me? So it's going to be hard for you, Annabelle, with holding 2. Fantastic. So if we just have the satellite picture back up very, very quickly. So in this picture here, we've got the Earth in the middle and the satellite that is going all the way around the Earth. And here, with these wonderful group of people in front of me, we have got God at the centre, and this circle around the outside represents our lives. And God should be at the centre of every part of our life. Our life should revolve around him. So we're gonna move and rotate as I talk. So if we come first of all to money, possessions, and giving and decisions, what does it look like to put God at the centre when we think about our money? Thank you. When it comes to our health, what does it look like to consider putting God at the centre of our physical health, our emotional health, our spiritual health? Would we see it differently? Fabulous, thank you. When it comes to our success, what does it look like if we put God at the centre of what it means to be successful in our lives, in our relationships? So with friends, with family, with colleagues and neighbours, what would that look like if actually we put God at the centre of those things? So keep rotating. Very good. Our daily lives, so kind of the mundane stuff that happens every day, what would it look like if God was at the centre of each of those, whether at work, at home, or at school? Our identity, this is something that so many people struggle with in our world today. What would it look like if we put God at the centre of who we think we are? Would that change the way that we live? And is this the last one? our hobbies. Oh, you had 2, did you? Oh, you took, oh, wonderful, thank you. So our hobbies, yes, they're fun things that we can do in our spare time, but what again would it look like if we put God at the centre of each of those? Because the truth is that God wants to be involved in every aspect of our life, not just what we do on a Sunday or what we do when we're praying to him, but every single bit. Thank you so much. If you pop those bits down on the floor for me, I'll take the hoop. Thank you, Charlie, for playing God so well. But, it's my final point, a satellite is pointless if all it does is receive data. So let's imagine that we've got a spy satellite. I was talking to someone yesterday that works at GCHQ, and I always find it fascinating because they don't ever tell you anything because they can't, and it's probably not as glamorous as we think. But imagine we've got a spy satellite, and what it's doing is it's receiving instructions to take photographs of enemy territory. That's what it's receiving and being told to do. It would be pointless if it then didn't send the data back down again. If all it did was receive, then it's done half the job, but it hasn't done the second part. Because there needs to be a balance between receiving stuff in and sending things out. And it's the same with our relationship with God. Yes, we need to receive things from him, his spirit, his wisdom, his help, but actually we then need to send that back out again and to do the work that he has called us to do. And it might be that some of us here today are great at inviting God to be part of our lives, but actually we're not so good at the then reflecting him out into the world around us. And so I leave you with this verse from Romans 12, which we've spoken about with the kids and the youth. And it says this, so here's what I want you to do. God helping you to take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. He wants to be involved in every aspect of your life and also wants to use it as an opportunity for others to hear about him. And so I wonder, what is one thing that you could do this week to either put God at the centre of one of those categories or to reflect God in one of those places? And as you think about that, we're going to watch a music video called We Are Not Made for the Harbour.
We are not made for the harbor, we are made for the sea. Though at times it's wild and cold and dark, it's where we're meant to be. And launch us out as a Bible, though we may be tossed about. But your presence in the storm, it walls us in, calls us out. You left a safe port of heaven for the elements of earth. This God at risk exposed. You lift our eyes to horizons where that heaven brushes earth, and this worn world is transformed. We are not made for the harbor, we are made for the sea. Though at times it's wild and cold and dark, it's where we're meant to be. And launch us out as a Bible, though we may be tossed about. But your presence in the storm, it walls us in, calls us out. You sent us out to the market, sent us out to the fields. Jesus, hope ambassadors. We take no purse for the journey, but take your authority to declare that all is yours. We are not made for the harbor, we are made for the sea. Though at times it's wild and cold and dark, it's where we're meant to be. And launch us out as a Bible, though we may be tossed about. But your presence in the storm, it walls us in and calls us out. Out to the office, leaving his mark. Out to the factory, his spirit the spark. Out to the school gates and out to the bars. May we launch us out as a father, though we may be tossed about. But your presence in the storm, it walls us in and calls us out. We are not made for the harbor, we are made for the sea. Oh, at times it's wild and cold and dark, it's where we're meant to be. You launch us out as a father, though we may be tossed about. But your presence in the storm, it calls us in and calls us out.